really tough, especially if you're first starting out. And for a lot of new YouTubers out there, kind of stops them from creating in the first place. Well, today I'm joined by Craig, one of the creators here at 𝗕𝗏 Media, and between the two of us, we've edited hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube videos. So first, I want to talk about different editing tips that will help you create better, faster, and with a lot less stress. So Craig, what is your first tip?
Absolutely, we're excited to dive into it. The first one that I have on our list is, and I think it's actually the most important, which is why I put it number one, which is organizing your project files. So this is everything, including your footage, your additional assets like graphics, animations, all those things. Organization is really important. It's going to save you a lot of time when it comes to editing your videos and expediting the beginning to a completion process. It just makes it a whole lot faster. And so what I often do is I kind of equate this to, you ever seen those Russian nesting dolls that kind of like nest inside of each other?
Yes,
and there's like the big one, the small one. So it's kind of like that. So you start from a broad picture. And so in your editing software, you might have like your 2024 projects or 2025 projects. And then within that, maybe it's like your seasonal, maybe it's like winter projects or monthly projects. And then it'll keep it organized. It'll save you a ton of headaches later.
The first tip I have on my list is to use engaging visuals and kind of the idea of show and not tell. When we're just simply talking about something, you're really neglecting the visual aspect of it. Can you use visuals to help reinforce a point? As a viewer, you want to be able to understand those topics in a clear, efficient way. So thinking about that, if you're not in the educational space, how can you show, not tell? You may be talking in a studio, but is it better off vlogging to show your environment? So that was huge for me, making sure that the audience not only hears your explanation, but they get to see it as well.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I love it. My second tip here is to edit your entire A-roll sequence, which is your main video file. So maybe your like talking head style YouTube video. Edit all of your A-roll before you try to dive in and start adding graphics or really anything else. You should be not focusing on music or sound effects or B-roll until you have your A-roll situated on your timeline, so you know even at least how long your video is going to be. For every single video I do, I always edit my A-roll first before I dive into adding B-roll and graphics.
It's kind of the idea of editing in layers. If you're just getting your A-roll right, then you can then move up to the B-roll versus just trying to start putting all the pretty stuff on without having that strong base foundation.
Exactly. That's such a good analogy. It's like almost like building a house. Like you need the strong foundation before you can add the beautiful paint and exterior features, right? You got to get that base and that foundation. Your A-roll is your story, right? So we got to get the story dialed in before we can add all the flashy pieces.
And what I love about that too, you're saying edit your A-roll, and that's often the most tedious part of the video and often like not creatively fulfilling at all. But recently I found this tool called 𝗙𝗂𝗵𝗆, and the magic of this, it kind of just edits your A-roll for you. So if you're talking from the camera tip, but also second fundamentally is don't neglect audio. So this is very broad scope. We can talk about just having a good microphone like we have here, a good podcast microphone, nice and close. This is fundamentally, your viewers are going to be way more engaged with your video if they hear it right. I think audio is more important than video. One of my favorite directors, George Lucas, said that audio, the sound experience is 50% of the visual experience of seeing a movie. But when we're talking about editing, you can actually improve the audio quality with editing using EQ. There's several tutorials on learning EQ if you want to further improve the sound quality, but then using things like music or using sound effects in your videos. There's a whole layer of your video of sound design that you can use to make people feel. When we're just talking, we may not be able to trigger those emotions, but adding in music, adding that tone.
Yeah, it sets a tone to this piece for sure.
Absolutely. It just, you convey much more by doing so. And then I also say, like, when it comes to music, a lot of mistakes I see is people have it way too loud. Sound effects that are way too loud.
I'm guilty of this often. I'm like, dude, I just found a banger song. I want people to hear this song.
Crank
but
it up.
It can get distracting in the edit if it's definitely too loud. That's feedback you often give me. I send you an edit and you're like, Craig, listen, just tone down the music a little bit. I'm like, okay, Nate,
I'm definitely very conservative when it comes to that, because I want, if we're teaching education, you don't want the music to compete with your message.
Exactly.
You want it to add to it. But sometimes, in this video, probably don't have music underneath because we're just engaged with the content. So it's important to know when to use it, when not to use it. But if you're looking for, okay, where should I set this music volume? Well, I would say probably around -30 dB in your editing software is typically where I like to live. Maybe it's a little lower depending on the track, but that adds a nice ambience without competing with your voice. And then for sound effects, I think somewhere around -18 or very subtle where you can hear it, but it's not suddenly coming over your voice and messing up with your delivery of your content.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a super good tip, Nate. So my third tip is to break your video into sections. And for me, this is kind of the idea of celebrating small wins. So if you break up, I literally actually color code my timelines based on the different sections of a video. So if I was doing like a camera guide, like best Sony cameras for beginners, and each camera that I'm talking about, the A roll of that section, if it's a ZV-E10, would be color coded yellow. And then the next camera would be color coded purple. And then I can visually see on my timeline all of the different sections of the videos. And then as I'm editing, I often edit out of order too, depending on, just as I'm looking at my footage, however I shot things, I might start with camera number 7 instead of camera 1. So I can kind of focus on a section by section basis, edit that section, and then celebrate that small win of, okay, that section's done. Because if you start editing in order and it's like you have a 30-minute video, it's kind of exhausting and overwhelming just to start at frame 1 and edit all the way through. So I often celebrate the small wins of hitting a section complete, complete over here. It makes me celebrate the small things in life, which I think is important.
Well, that's awesome because I also do that color coding thing when I'm editing because like if it's a certain tip, like a tip number or a chapter, I like highlight it and I have a keyboard shortcut, which is actually my next tip, but you can set that as a, I just press a number key and it'll color code those sections. Yeah. And then if you zoom out, you know where you are in the video. Exactly. And that does save time instead of trying to figure out where you need to be. You can see it as so that's a
organization.
tip.
A lot of these tips are around organization and just eliminating a lot of the decision fatigue that comes with editing. Even the nature of, like, as you're saying, zooming in and zooming out. If everything is all the same color, you don't have a visual representation of what part of the edit you were actually working on. But if it's kind of color coded, I was just working on the purple section, and you can reduce that stress of like trying to figure out where in the video you were actually editing. Yeah,
I love that too. And even for interviews, like you can color code like your clip of you talking, you're at camera, and I can color code mine so I know which layer I'm working on. So,
or audio files, like if it's my microphone, different color than your microphone.
You can color code the music differently than your normal audio. So wonderful,
really
wonderful.
Cool.
So keyboard shortcuts, this is a tool if you really want to speed up your editing workflow, is learning this, and it's really valuable. Anyways, keyboard shortcuts is simply like choosing a tool or a command. You can program that to your buttons. So a simple one of that is like Command B, cutting. So you can set that, it might be different in your editor. I'd highly look up tutorials on keyboard shortcuts and how it works with your program, but you can really customize it. Like for me, for editing, like the W is actually cut, and then the Q button actually trims everything up to that point, and then E trims all the end to that point.
Cool. So you customize it based on your own preferences.
Yeah, and so I know right here, my fingers rest there, and I can quickly and easily just cut things. Those little things is what really does speed up your workflow. If you're doing this, you need all the time you can save for those things. Keyboard shortcuts, you can go really in depth. Another quick and easy one to do is double pressing the L key to speed back, play your footage back in 2x speed. Yeah. When I'm previewing a video, instead of watching it in real time, I can just double click that and preview it in 2x speed. And usually I can tell if there's a mistake, I can fix something. Yep. But it's great for quick playback if you need to review something.
Efficiency, just keeping things moving. Yeah, I love that. I always am playing stuff back in 2x speed when I'm editing, for sure.
It's kind of one of those things that you learn over time and how you want to implement it. What are some of your favorite keyboard shortcuts?
Well, the thing I was going to say is you often develop muscle memory around those. And it's like, as I'm even sitting here thinking about my favorite keyboard shortcuts, I often don't even realize which buttons I'm pressing because it's just like second nature to me. It's almost like playing a video game on the controller. Like you don't even really think about the buttons. You just So over time, I mean, for me, it's like obviously all the main ones like the blade tool, cutting up clips. So anything that can save me time and be able to get the video done sooner means I can publish it sooner. Yeah. So those are the things that I often find myself using with keyboard shortcuts.
I love that. What is your next tip?
So our next tip here is you want to spend the most amount of time when you're editing on your hook. So even if you didn't shoot a dedicated hook, you still have the first 10 to 30 seconds of your video, that's the beginning of your video. And this would absolutely be the most essential place to spend most of your editing energy, would be this first 30 seconds or so, or at least in the first like minute even, maybe 2 minutes would be really important, because usually if somebody's going to watch a video, if they're already watching the first minute, 2 minutes, they're likely going to be committed to to watch the longer duration of that video. But really just hooking your audience with that first 10 to 20 seconds, I think is really important. So often for me, I spend the most amount of time in my editing suite working on that hook to get a viewer captured and excited for the rest of the video.
And just as a practical editing thing, it's like you don't have to necessarily go 100% for your whole video if you are facing deadlines.
Yep, exactly.
So I love that tip.
Yep.
The next tip on our list is kind of to know your audience, know your niche in what you're editing, because there are certain like rules in each niche, or like if you're doing a vlog or if you're doing educational content. For example, for this video, if I have hardcore rap underneath an educational video, that's probably not going to sit well, because, you know, it's competing with what the style is. So you can quickly and easily like look up examples in your niche and kind of get a sense of what works and what's not working. For example, if people are coming to your channel for quick tips, you wouldn't necessarily want to bog them down with like deep storytelling. You want to get to the point. So you might want to opt for something a little bit more fast paced. But then if you're more slow, more storytelling, maybe getting more cinematic, maybe adding more B-roll, taking the time to color grade and get a vibe for your video, it's all predicated on knowing your audience. It can be kind of confusing to know, like, know your audience. What does that mean? Maybe I don't know my audience. Well, take some of your interests, for example, what videos you're watching and you're consuming, kind of implement those things into your video, and you kind of get a sense of what things work for your kind of individual unique niche, and then you can further experiment. But I think it's really important to match the visuals, the pacing of your video. It's really important to just have the viewer in mind in your videos.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I think for me, I think about a video, like especially what we do here at Think Media, it's going to solve a viewer's problem. And so to try to put yourself in the mind of a viewer, if a viewer is going to click on this video, what is the problem that I am solving for them? Maybe they're making, you know, they're trying to make progress in their life towards a certain goal. Maybe it's editing, maybe it's buying their first camera. Whatever the video is, whatever the niche you're in, put yourself in the mind frame of a viewer and try to answer specific questions that guide a learner or a student or a viewer to the goal that they're trying to achieve. So my next tip is to take a break. You know, just give yourself some time, give yourself some space. And this is actually a really important one for me. I often, during my editing days here at Think Media, I try to actually time it so that by the end of a certain editing day, maybe it's a Thursday, I am only about 95% complete with an edit. And then I will pause the project, put it away, sleep on it, come back the next day to finish that 5%, but also review the entirety of the video. Because when you view it with fresh eyes, sometimes you're just so tied to a project. You're like emotionally tied. You invested all this time in it. You shot all this amazing stuff. Your B-roll took forever. Your A-roll took a long time. You kind of like are, you're attached to it. You don't want to cut stuff. But when you view it with new eyes the next days, it can often, identify blind spots in a video that maybe you weren't seeing the first time. So I'm a huge believer, taking a break, come back to it, see how it looks. And usually, I'd say actually probably 100% of the time, I view a project the next day, there's things that I would do differently.
Absolutely. Well, one way I found to like speed up that process when I started working for a team is like simply get fresh eyes from someone else. And they are able to point out, oh, obviously now I see it. But dude, something really weird too is like if you have another person viewing your video, become more critical of your own video. You see it in a new way, right? And that always surprised me, because I like have my brother watch a video and he doesn't have to say a thing, but then I'm like 50 notes I gotta fix on this thing.
Just like you watch their reaction watching it, you're like, oh, they didn't react the way that I wanted to. I get that all the time too.
So
I show my wife stuff all the time. I'm just like watching her reactions and she's like, it was good. I'm like, it was terrible. I need to redo everything.
I love that. So even if you get your friend just to watch it, I think definitely helps. And like you said, sometimes you just need that rest and coming back to it. But also if you have like a friend and they can just watch it, it helps with that.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. What's your next tip?
All right, my next tip is pacing. Viewers today kind of have shorter attention spans. So if you keep the pacing like snappy and cutting out unnecessary fluff, I would say keep each segment kind of brief. So what we often do here at Think Media is like, if we have 10 tips in a video, right? You kind of want each tip to be somewhat similar length. If tip number 7 is 5 minutes long, you were to like reset, okay, we're going.
My next tip is break down what editing is, just really simply. Just break it down. What is an edit? Well, you have your A-roll, which is your main story, right? So that's your.
So how does the YouTube algorithm actually work, and what are the best ways to get views and get to match viewers with videos they are likely to enjoy? So I think it's important to note watched in the past. I'm sure you've noticed. One is viewer behavior, and this includes 4 things: watch history, search history, likes, dislikes, comments, and device and location. Let's break these down. The first is even YouTube knows that what you watch on a smart TV might be different than when you sit down at your computer. So you're getting different recommendations depending on the device. But what's the second big area? The second key factor for influencing search and discovery is video content. This includes title, description, tags, video length and format, thumbnail, and then the audio and visual quality. Let's break them down. So how well does your title, description, and tags match search queries? Now, some people try to say tags don't matter, which is mainly true. They don't carry a lot of influence. Description's a lot less. Title's incredibly important. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm looking for the JBL Peak 3s, which is what I ended up with after my research, the third factor is video performance. So now you've posted the video, how well is it doing? Here's different areas: click-through rate, watch time, retention. How many subscribers do you have? Obviously that builds authority, and better if, but it can confuse the algorithm. Upload can subscribers like want the main theme of your channel. If you've got all these themes and all these topics and all this different stuff that you're covering on your YouTube channel, sure, you got a lot of subscribers perhaps from all these different places, but it can confuse the algorithm. Upload consistency. How often do you upload new videos? I've heard a quote thrown around that YouTube is a momentum-based platform. I don't know if I fully agree with it, but we'll talk a little bit later about how upload consistency is just a big deal in general. Like, I mean, in life in general. If you want momentum in your health, be consistent. If you want momentum in your relationships, go on date nights, be consistent. If you want momentum on YouTube, be consistent. I mean, you got to keep uploading videos, but we can get a little more tactical in a second. And then viewer loyalty. This is kind of a big one. How often do viewers return to your channel? You know, YouTube analytics shows us this. It talks about new and returning viewers. And so can there be some humor? Tip number 10, improve your watch time and your retention rate. Now, how do you do that? A topic for another time, whether or not someone's going to click. Number 9 is improve your CTR. That stands for your click-through rate. So we could really go deep when it comes to improving your click-through rate, but there's really 3 big factors in my mind, and a 4th important, and that is this. Like, the 3 big things on whether or not someone's going to click on your video is going to be topic, title, and thumbnail all paired together. Do they even desire this topic? Are people looking for this topic? You know, the best title and thumbnail in the world on a topic people don't care about, then they won't click on it. They don't want to click through. And so those are the 3 big factors. But if we take a little side quest here, you know what's interesting is YouTube just released the thumbnail split test tool. And the way that tool works, it's been out for a while, but lots of creators have it now. You can upload 3 different thumbnails, and YouTube will run one for a while and then change it to one of the other ones and change it to one of the other ones to see which one is performing best. But what's fascinating is it shows you another factor in terms of like quality of click-through rate. And it's the fact that YouTube tells us the winning thumbnail performed best, not just on how high was the click-through rate, which simply means if you have a 4% click-through rate, it means that out of every 100 people that the video is shown to, out of every 100 impressions, 4 people actually clicked. What YouTube is doing when it selects a winner is it's saying which thumbnail led to the highest watch time. So click-through rate and watch time are very interconnected, because just because you can get someone to click, if a certain title, topic, and thumbnail gets someone to click, but they bail in 10 seconds or they only watch a minute, versus the way you title it, the way you thumbnail it leads to 2 minutes of watch time, then on a net, YouTube perhaps is going to go with that thumbnail that has a lower delivers on that. Tip number 10, improve your watch time and your retention rate. Now, how do you do that? A topic for another time. Here's a couple ideas that I wrote down. The pacing of your videos, the editing of your videos, your communication skills, storytelling, humor, don't be boring, trim the fluff, get to the point, infotainment. So not just information that's maybe dry and bland, but can there be a little bit more to it? Can there be some humor or some refresh or some personality that you include? All of these different distinctions, you want to play to your strengths. This isn't about trying to become somebody else, but it's thinking about what are the different ways that I can improve watch time and retention. And this is actually one of the core things that we help people with here at Think Media is mastering everything we've been talking about, but also really developing the skill of the perfect video recipe, but figuring out your strengths and figuring out what you're best at and then playing towards that. And so, you might not know that we have Think Media certified coaches, and there's people that we help in a group basis and on a one-on-one basis. Now that's not for everybody, but I know some people might want some additional help beyond a membership or something like that. If you're interested at all, you can check out thinkmediacoaching.com, and there's like an application where you could see if you qualify. If you would say, yes, I'm serious about this YouTube thing, or I've hit a plateau, I want to improve my game. We cover it all in coaching, but crafting these types of skills, communication skills, pacing, infotainment, how do you make better videos, perfect video recipe, all that stuff. I'm definitely giving you some tips here, but if you're interested in that, we'll link to that down below, or you can just go to thinkmediacoaching.com. Now, another thing under improve watch time and retention could be how you organize and structure your content, and then as a result, doing time codes and chapters. Like on this video, you're able to navigate through the tips, part 1, part 2, there's structure to it, and time codes and chapters are utilized. Now, there's actually an ongoing debate about, do time codes and chapters hurt retention because people can skip around and they don't have to just watch. The flip side is they might just skip away. They might just bounce unless they hover over your video and see, oh, coming up is this part or that part, or there's a 3-hour. Why are these people doing 3-hour podcasts these days? Like, what are these 4-hour podcasts? Well, sometimes I might see somebody I want to learn from or somebody that I want to listen to, rate, and give yourself grace, because these are complex skills to build. And we all don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle, is one of my favorite quotes from Jon Acuff. Like when you're just starting, you're like, this is so much different things to learn. That's why it's just like, make your next video your best video and keep skill building, keep improving your skills as you go. And you're going to be stunned by how much progress you can make when you do that intentionally. Number 11 is follow the 𝗕𝗂𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗎 formula. Now this stands for consistent, strategic, quality content. So we learned that part of search and discovery is uploading consistently. And so my goal is to upload consistent, but also not just a lot of videos, because sometimes volume is overrated, like the volume of uploads. Like if you just keep uploading terrible videos, that doesn't mean you're going to build momentum. But if you're uploading consistently, and what's the magic number? I mean, if you can do once a week, do once a week. If you can do once a month, do once a month. If you can do 3 a week, do 3 a week. I mean, like the bottom line is that there's just forward momentum. Like if you upload one video and take 10 years off, you're like, why is my channel not growing? Well, I have a sneaky suspicion that it's the fact you're not uploading videos to YouTube. One of the secrets to success on YouTube is uploading videos to YouTube. So consistency. Now, the second one, though, I think is important is
Python is a high-level
strategic. I think by even this video, you might be seeing that, oh, wow, there's another level of strategy that could go into my video. In fact, I'm curious, like what has been maybe one of your biggest takeaways, or do you like these deeper dives like this? Let me know in the comments. Could you be more strategic? So you're uploading consistently, you're being more strategic, whether that's SEO, research, intentionality with how you're structuring your videos. Quality, am I improving the quality? The content value, how am I delivering it? How is it structured? The production value, can I up the quality over time? 1% better. I'm gonna invest in a lens. I'm gonna invest in some lighting. I'm gonna invest in a microphone. 1% better. And then content, that is of course what we're doing. It's actually uploading videos. Now also the reason though that I think this leads to search and discovery is number one, just more at bats. Like if you upload 2 videos a year, then you've got 2 chances to get discovered and build some momentum. If you upload 50 videos a year, you take 2 weeks off for vacation, but you really commit to like 1 video a week for 50 weeks. And if give yourself grace, if you get sick, you know, like take a week off, but like generally you're just consistently moving forward. This is like a law of success in general. Like success takes consistently. It's not what we do occasionally out there. Maybe you share it on social media. If you didn't see the video where we talked about how to like promote your videos in different places like Facebook groups and Reddit, I'll link to that in the description, but like do that stuff and then do it again. And it's like you keep going around the flywheel. Why? Because it builds momentum. So it's like I learn about what the parts of the process are. This is why, so we have this program called Video Ranking Academy. It's like our main YouTube membership program. And it's an actual circle. It's like a flywheel. And so it's 7 steps. And when we go through these 7 steps, you just keep doing it over and over again. And the flywheel effect of consistency really matters. And I mean, even look at.
So how do you write a YouTube script that keeps your audience engaged and actually gets views? Well, if you're watching this video, you might actually be scripting your videos in the wrong way. So whether you fully script or you use bullet points or you go mostly unscripted, there's a better way you can structure your content for maximum retention. So let's break down our 4-step framework for writing engaging YouTube scripts, and we'll even show you some of our real video scripts and planning process towards the end of this video. So before you begin writing your script, you've got to think about the way that you're going to make your videos stand out from the rest of the videos out there. And what we call this is video packaging. And this is what's going to give your content a chance to even be seen in the first place. So think about it this way, right? Your video is the product, but your packaging is what's going to get people to click and choose that video over the hundreds of other options they have directly in front of them as they're scrolling on YouTube. So your packaging is going to consist of 3 key elements. The first is going to be your topic or the big idea. So what's your video about and why is it going to matter to your audience? So the first thing you want to do is just make sure that there's actually proven interest in your video idea before you move forward with the creation of the video. And I can speak to this firsthand. I've actually skipped this step before, and I went off of a hunch and just thought to myself, this is a banger video idea. I think it's going to do great. And then the video flopped because there actually is no verified demand for that video to be produced. So you just want to do a little bit of research, verify that your topic and your idea is actually a good one before you start scripting out your video. Now, your second piece of video packaging is your video title. And this is going to be the headline of your video, and it's designed to attract attention, but also accurately describe the content contained within the video itself. So with your title, you want your viewer to be thinking, I need to watch this video. I have to watch this video. Take Mark Rober's video title right here, the world's largest Jello pool. Can you swim in Jello? I mean, what an amazing title. How could you not want to click on that video and watch it? And actually over 179 million people actually have watched it, which is wild. At Think Media, we actually come up with at least 5 to 10 titles for every single video concept. We don't just stop at the first idea we come up with. And usually we actually select maybe our 5th or 7th or 12th idea when it comes to titles, because there's usually always a little bit of improvement we can do to our initial title idea. And then comes the third and final piece of packaging, which would be the thumbnail. And this, of course, is that strong preview image that grabs attention and also complements your video title. And you absolutely want to know, or at least have a concept of what your thumbnail is going to look like before you start writing your script. And this is because you want to know what your viewers' expectations are going to be of your video. So your topic, title, and thumbnail are going to create your viewer expectations, and you're going to use those expectations to help inform your script writing process. So those are the 3 elements of packaging: your topic, title, and thumbnail. And it's kind of like your video's external brand. Or marketing. This is what's going to stop people in their tracks while they're scrolling through YouTube and decide to click on your video and not somebody else's.
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know, me!
Now with good packaging, ideally somebody's going to click on your video, but that is just the beginning. Now you're into the first 30 seconds of your video, and this determines whether they're going to stay for the rest of the video or just turn yours off for a different piece of content. If you don't get this first 30 seconds right, you're going to lose them before you even get to your core content, which honestly, your core content might be really, really good. But if you're not able to keep them around for the first 30 seconds, it really doesn't even matter how good your content is. Now, all of this is called the hook. And there are 2 great parts to every single hook. And the first is capturing attention. The goal here is to grab people's attention in the shortest amount of time possible. Some strategies here for grabbing attention include asking a compelling question at the beginning of your hook.
If you were starting a YouTube channel in 2025, what
beginning. Now you're into the first 30 seconds of your video, and this determines whether they're going to stay for the rest of the video or just turn yours off for a different piece of content. If you don't get this first 30 seconds right, you're going to lose them before you even get to your core content, which honestly, your core content might be really, really good. But if you're not able to keep them around for the first 30 seconds, it really doesn't even matter how good your content is. Now, all of this is called the hook, and there are two great parts to every single hook. And the first is capturing attention. The goal here is to grab people's attention in the shortest amount of time possible. Some strategies here for grabbing attention include asking a compelling question at the beginning of your hook.
If you are starting a YouTube channel in 2025, what are the first 3 practical steps you would do to launch your channel?
You could also state a really interesting fact.
Around 100,000 Americans passed away in 2023 from a disease that almost no one understands.
You can make a bold or even an absurd statement.
I'm sitting in a hot tub filled to the brim with solid sand.
Or you could jump directly into the action.
I'm about to show you what a $500,000 experience looks like.
These are just some strategies for capturing attention at the beginning of your video, but whatever you do, please avoid the classic, like, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You know, today we're gonna be talking about these 12 things and I'm gonna hop into number 1, but I just had my coffee. You know, we're having a good day today. No, please do not do this. Just get directly into your content, into engaging material. I honestly used to start off my videos with really long intros talking about what I'm going to cover in the video rather than just starting to cover the content of the video. And my retention graph in older videos really suffered, and I would struggle to maintain that viewership in that first 30 seconds. But now I'm way more polished in my intros and it's really paid off. But it's not enough to just grab attention during our hook. We also need to deliver on our packaging, which is kind of like the expectation or the promise that we made to our viewer through our topic, title, and thumbnail. And this is why people get so upset about clickbait, right? Because creators bait the click with a catchy title or a catchy thumbnail, but then they don't deliver on those expectations. So this is kind of a both and game. You have to hold attention, but you also need to deliver on the promise of your video. So if you take away one thing from this video, let it be this. Your hook is everything. Write it out, test it, refine it, write it again like 3 different ways and new variations.
Another one.
Do everything you can to make the most interesting hook possible. And if you succeed, YouTube's gonna reward you with more viewers. Now, step 3 is gonna be our main content delivery. And this is where you're gonna unpack all of the main ideas and flesh out all of the important information of your video. Now that you've hooked your audience in and you got them past that first 30 seconds, your job is to keep them watching. This is actually the #1 desire of the YouTube algorithm. YouTube wants to serve up content to viewers that will keep them on the platform for as long as possible. And if your video is not retaining attention through a significant portion of its length, you're gonna have a really hard time hitting a wide audience and getting your content even suggested in the first place. So with the main body of our video, we want to create a desire in our viewer to watch the entirety of the video by applying good storytelling techniques. You don't want to just dump all of the information and the payoff right at the beginning of your video. Instead, you want to kind of guide viewers through the content by first, building tension, so you can set up a problem or a question at the beginning of your video before you reveal the answer towards the end of the content. Tension equals retention, and if you can build tension in your piece, it's really going to help drive people to stick around longer. You can also layer information, so answering one question then reveals another question that the viewer would be curious about and keeps them engaged for a longer duration. And then there's this concept called facts, feelings, and fun. An author and social media creator, Brendan Kane, highlights in his book, The Guide to Going Viral, that 75% of the population wants their content to be delivered with feelings, facts, and fun. It's a great book. We highly recommend it. We'll link it down in the description below. But a quick breakdown is first feelings, right? We want to use personal stories, emotional appeal, and relatable moments to make content stick and just feel more connected to your viewers. Facts are pretty obvious, right? You want to give clear information, concise information to educate your audience, but also allow them to make their own decisions about the information you're presenting. And then fun, of course, is just that humor piece, right? You want high energy, you want creative visuals to keep people entertained. So you might consider adding some B-roll or some graphics or some different high energy movements or transitions during your video with the goal of keeping people entertained.
Are you not entertained?
If you can find a way to incorporate all three of these things, facts, feelings, and fun into your content's going to resonate with way more people. And then finally, step 4 is our outro and our call to action. And this is the final 15 seconds to maybe about a minute of your video. And this is where you're going to direct your audience to what's happening next. And we got to remember, YouTube's goal is to keep people on the platform for as long as possible. And your goal should be to keep them watching your content for as long as possible. The longer viewers stay on your channel, the more YouTube is going to promote your videos. So some tips for creating a strong outro would be, first, keep it short. There's really no reason for an outro to be any longer than a minute. And really, some of the best outros are like 10 seconds long or even less. Now is not the time to get long-winded because it's going to hurt your overall retention graph. Second is to make sure you keep your energy up throughout your outro and be very clear with your communication. Your outro should feel just as polished as the rest of your video. And finally, you want to give them a clear next step. Don't just say, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Instead, tell them exactly what you want them to do next. If you like this video, then this one's going to be a deep dive training into 3 key more principles, something like that, where you can actually add an end screen with a clickable video recommendation so they can easily continue consuming your content. This
Oh.